piggyback with that, it's really important to negotiate your salaries and benefits up front, because this is the one time when you've been offered a job that you really do have the most power, because you're at a point in the hiring process where you haven't really signed any contractual obligations or anything like that. So you have the ability to kind of make your voice heard and let them know what it is that you're looking for and what it is that you would like to see on your end that you can benefit from them. They can always say no, and that's fine, as long as there's wiggle room in between and there's the ability to dialogue, back and forth until you both come to a comfortable means. So just know that it's a time for you to really have a little bit of an upper hand before you sign the dotted lines, and then they own you. You no longer have a voice.
I was just also going to say, on the longer term piece, it could definitely affect sort of your longer term earning potential within that organization, especially if they're giving kind of a standard university-wide, organizationally wide raise, and you started at maybe a lower place. Now granted, negotiating is a lot more than just salary, so I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that, but thinking about it from that perspective. And then also some employers want to know what your earning history has been. So again, just starting off in a lower place when you maybe could have asked for something higher, it could potentially affect you long term in that respect as well.
And then I was just going to add even a little bit of historical context that particularly women, many of the people in this field are women. As I look around the room, I see that that's true. We're often socialized to not ask for what we want or what we need. We're not socialized in a way to be aggressive about things like money or different kinds of benefits. And so some of it is also about relearning some skills or unlearning some of the negative socialization that is around negotiation or is around talking about money.
Right, I know that you mentioned, as being on the opposite side, and Susan, you might be able to speak to this as well. From the hiring perspective, if the candidates don't negotiate for anything, you're not going to voluntarily pull out whatever's in your pocket. At that point, is it you go, okay, shake your hand, and they're out the door, and everything that was in your back pocket just goes back on the shelf for the next candidate who actually decides to negotiate?
Why don't you go first?
I think not only are we notoriously poor at negotiating for ourselves in the field, I think that our employers are notoriously poor at negotiating on our behalf. And that includes hiring managers. I think a really strong hiring manager is going to give you a brochure that talks about all of those little things that end up adding up. And I've got a whole list of things. Anything from a Costco membership that you have access to that equates to a savings of $35 a year to everything as it relates to your live-in benefit or as it relates to your 401k. Employers also need to be able to kind of put some of that stuff out there. So if you get one of those really great employers who's able to do some of this negotiation on your behalf, oftentimes employers in this field will say, excellent, well, and we can also do some moving expenses, or we can do this, or we can do that, or I've negotiated this for you through HR as well. So sometimes some of that stuff comes to the table, but especially now when we're looking at strapped budgets, and if $1,000 in salary can go back into a programming or an operating budget for students, oftentimes that's where that money would go. Or if I was going to pay moving expenses of $1,000, but that's a little bit more flexible, then that can move somewhere. Sometimes I just don't have the money to give up, but if it means going back into my pool and re-interviewing and bringing people out and flying people to campus, that $1,000 is absolutely worth it. And for you, it's money in your pocket. So,
I think one of the things that when people don't ask for anything or don't negotiate, I really wonder if they're assertive enough to do the job. And so I one time had a gentleman who was applying for a VP of sales, and he was so excited about his offer. He came in and he said, I got this offer, and I'm really excited. It's my ideal company. And I said, so what are you going to negotiate for? And he said, oh, I wasn't going to. And I said, I wouldn't hire you. As a salesperson, you're gonna be negotiating with people on a daily basis. So I said, I, as an employer, would want to retract the offer if you didn't come back and ask me for something. So I think it's really important to say, what does it say about you if you don't ask for anything? Or if you don't ask questions about what's covered as part of the offer? Because that's the other mistake people make, is they don't ask what something means. If you're offered a sign-on bonus, is that taxable income to you? If, if you're offered, if you want an extra week of vacation, is that applicable, So sometimes when you ask for things, it doesn't have to be just base salary. There could be a lot of different things. But I always want people to ask for something.
Well, and I'll just add, it's been my experience that there's often in higher ed a lot more flexibility in the other things, right? The salary ranges are often predetermined, but there are a lot of things that I can do for you in my office with some of my operating funds.
And I was just gonna offer up, having worked in a state and now a private institution, that there's definitely some differences that I'm noticing there. It was very cut and dry at the state institution, and there's definitely more room for flexibility here. And it's also not all public information, so there's some nuances there. But I don't really know of any employer who will then go back and offer more money if someone doesn't ask for it. I mean, I've never heard of that. I suppose it's possible, but I interviewed a lot of employers in my work at IU, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. So, I mean, they're trying to get the best person for the least amount of money.
So, it's clearly important. Where in the world do we start? What research can we be doing? What should we be doing beforehand? Are there databases that would tell us positions and salary ranges? And then to tack onto that all elusive question of what's your salary range? Where in the world do you fall in that question?
I guess the best thing, like the best piece of information that I can give when it comes to researching as a job hunter is that you want to research the worth of your skills in comparable jobs before even thinking about negotiating for jobs that you're being offered or jobs that you want. So really going online, and there's websites like salary.com, and you can go to state and city living websites to see what kind of costs of living are in those states and things like that, and what kind of salaries people are making in those cities and job fields and everything like that, and see, do that, do some comparisons and see, okay, well, I'm being offered this, and if I want to move to, state X, and they're offering me, this much money, is that practical? Is that something that I can live off of?
I was just gonna say, I think this is sort of what you were saying, is just to definitely start with your own personal budget. So kind of know what your bottom line is, like I couldn't actually live if I don't make at least this much money. So you have that personal information in mind. And then I think after that, doing the research around what is the marketability of your skill set and your experience, and then doing the added research of what are the trends in this industry and in this field. And so I'm sure you all are familiar with the Occupational Outlook Handbook. They tend to give the average salaries, so if you're coming in entry level, then you probably want to focus more on the lower end of that. Again, that sort of depends on where you are in the country and cost of living and all of that. But being really, really clear and having done your research is critical in this process.